I want to thank you for taking the time out today to interview with me for this short time period, because I definitely wanted to get your opinion about a couple of different issues. First off, could you tell me why you're running for president again, and how will this time be any different?
Well, the concentration of power in fewer and fewer hands, especially through corporate globalization, has systematically undermined our democracy, whether it's our access to justice, our voice before legislatures, our access to the media. Citizen groups are being shut out. They can't even do what they used to be able to do 20, 30, 35 years ago.
Okay.
And there comes a time when the civil society being excluded and marginalized across the board has to move into the political arena. And that's what we're doing with the Green Party nomination for president. And this will be different in the sense that we're going to have a serious campaign, raise money, develop a whole corps of organizers around the country, put out a very unifying agenda. Basically, people's sovereignty over corporate sovereignty will be the theme.
Okay. And could you also tell me, these days the internet is changing the political landscape like no other thing has done before in the past 25 years. Could you sort of explain to me how how the internet can be used to increase community activism and political participation, and how you could see yourself using it in your campaign?
Well, we're using it. Our website is votenader.com, and therefore, for example, people all over the country want to volunteer for the campaign. You see how easy it is? You just send an email, you fill out a form that's on the website. Imagine trying to do that by sending millions of letters out, or by trying to have paid advertisements. It's very difficult. The corporatization of the internet proceeds. However, there are enough people in the internet now who can communicate with one another and to oppose it. So there'll always be some space for civic activity. We've used it to mobilize people against the international pharmaceutical industry, for example, and the AIDS issue with South Africa and the price of pharmaceuticals there. We've used it to mobilize people against something that the Securities Exchange Commission was doing to privatize its information office, and we're mobilizing it. But it is not easy at the beginning. It's a great information dissemination system. To actually mobilize it is still a cool medium, so to speak, but it's getting easier and easier, and we look forward to a really major reliance on the internet.
Okay, I have a couple more questions here. Basically, how do you think that you're going to appeal to a younger generation of voters, I guess Generation X in this regard, who many consider as politically apathetic and not really caring about politics in some regard? How would you include them?
Well, you touch bases that they're concerned about. There isn't anybody in the country that doesn't have some sense of injustice, and if they do, then they have a sense of what's just. And you have a broad enough agenda where there's a place for everyone to pursue their injustices and remedy them. And the important thing is to give young people responsibility at an early age. And the other thing is to have a pattern of leadership that produces more leaders, not more followers. And so people their age, they look at the world. If you give them a broad enough frame of reference, they'll look at the world and they say, well, should we have solar energy more? Well, should we preserve the oceans and the forests? Well, what about global infectious diseases? What about global poverty? And pretty soon they connect to missions that quicken their conscience and mobilize their own resolve to do something about it.
Okay. And how do you then propose to push the issues of the Green Party into the mainstream?
I think it is in the mainstream, not the national media mainstream. If you look at their agenda and poll them, there'd be overwhelming support.
Okay.
I mean, for example, one of their agendas deals with environment. Well, look at the polls on that. Strong, real, not rhetorical. Another one deals with social justice. Another one deals with women's rights. Another one deals with public financing of public campaigns, universal health care coverage. I mean, these are all majoritarian issues. They don't quite have the power that the HMOs and the oil companies and the coal companies and the lobbyists on the commercial side have. But in terms of just straight out polling, do you think this is a sensible way to move the country forward? The Green Party agenda is right there.
Okay, and the last question basically revolves around Princeton itself, actually, and obviously you're an alumni here, and basically my question is, what do you think is the responsibility of schools like Princeton in educating future presidents? or of, I guess, increasing community activism or political participation?
Well, I think they should have a Department of Civil Practice. That's what we've been urging. I mean, you have a Department of Chemistry, Department of Philosophy, Department of History. There needs, and the Woodrow Wilson School for Policy. There needs to be a department where students can major in how do you get things done by practicing democracy, developing the strategies, the tools of civic power. That's what really is needed. I mean, our country has huge problems on the one hand and solutions that aren't applied on the other. That gap is what a Department of Civil Practice would expose students to as a major, and also in terms of clinical work in the community, bridging the classroom with the community. You'll get a lot of leaders that way, just the way we hope our project, the Princeton Project 55, is giving opportunities for Princeton students and civic action groups all over the country to get a taste of what leadership is like.
And Princeton Project 55 is basically, in your words, what? Could you describe that very quickly?
It's our Princeton Class 55. It's starting an independent organization right on Nassau Street that places dozens and dozens of Princeton juniors and seniors in summer internships and full-time jobs in groups all over the country. And actually, it's a very popular opportunity for students. During the P-Raid, when the Class 55 crosses the graduating class, they get the biggest applause. Okay, great. Well, I want to thank you very much for your time today. Thank you. And I wish you good luck in your campaign. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. Bye-bye. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.